Hello everyone, and welcome to a special React event. I'm going to be reacting to June the King's documentary,
Contracts.
The Greatest Business Failure in YouTube History, the History of Machinima. And this is exciting for me because I've wanted to do something like this for a long time. I used to be one of the longest running partners of Machinima when they were an MCN or multi-channel network on YouTube. 6.5 years I was with them. Okay, I was with them through thick and thin when a lot of people were telling me to jump ship through all of the hardships and troubles and bad press they were getting. People were like, dude, you gotta leave. And I stuck in there until the very end, until basically even I had a falling out with the company. And then they ended up going out of business within like a year of me having a falling out with them. Okay, so what we're about to watch is not having really much to do with personal interactions with partners. This is supposed to be a documentary on their business side. Who were they? How did they come to prominence on YouTube? And how on earth did they go out of business? This is fascinating to me because being someone that was on the other side of it as a YouTube partner, I relied on this company to make money on my videos, but it seemed like they were always making bad financial choices that would kind of screw over the partners. So I'm going to be adding my own personal takes and information based on what I knew during the time frame that I was a Machinima partner. I mean, hell, I'm wearing the hoodie from 2012 when they sent me to E3 under their umbrella. And even that was a shit show. So if you want to hear my personal takes on Machinima, I'm doing a separate series of videos called The Dark Side of Machinima after this long-form React ends. And you can watch that here on DSPReacts on YouTube. But right now what I'd like to do is a live react to what happened with this company and how they imploded. All right, so let's do it. Let's see what June the King found because I don't really know what happened. So let's take a look. Here we go.
Machinima throughout the years has been attacked for its mass negligence of creators and legally unenforceable contracts.
I just want to take a look. Exclusively, hereby grants exclusively to Machinima an irrevocable license in perpetuity throughout the universe. That's bullshit. There's no way that's the right wording. In all forms of media, now known or hereafter devised through any means of transmission, now known or hereafter devised on any platform. There's no way that's real. I've had contracts with Machinima, and my contracts never said anything like that at all. That looks to me like someone photoshopped it because that throughout the universe. So if aliens come down, they have the broadcast rights to the aliens too. I don't know about that. That sounds like bullshit. Anyway.
But hardly has anyone ever asked why. Why did one of the largest symbiotic elements of YouTube's creator success turn into its biggest parasite? A company that YouTube promoted and creators embraced was actually unmasked as the company embodiment of a trash fire. But even then, Machinima could spin this as a way of providing warmth to its creators. Creators who were inexperienced and ready to be burned. The answer is its sole business model of partnering creators to YouTube was undercut when YouTube started partnering creators themselves.
That's right. Take a look at this. Being a YouTube creator just got even more rewarding April 12, 2012. Starting today, we're updating partner eligibility across 20 countries. So at one point, in order to make any money on certain types of videos on YouTube, you had to be part of a partnership network. When I started on YouTube, I could not monetize my gameplay videos. And I was known as one of the big Let's Players on YouTube back in the day, around the years of like 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. I was one of the top guys, and I could not make money on any gameplay unless I was partnered with a company because they would vouch for me, essentially. They would be the ones to put the ads on my videos. They would make the money, and then they would pay me a cut of that per my contract. If I was going by myself, I couldn't monetize gameplay. But it did change around 2012, 2013. YouTube started giving out individual AdSense contracts to individual creators, and you could start doing it for yourself. Now, even then, there was some uncertainty because there were rumors that if you did it yourself, you wouldn't get as good ads as if you were with an MCN network, and you'd make less money, all right? But this is absolutely true. Essentially, in the beginning, this was absolutely 100% required to be a YouTuber and make money. But over the years, they became less and less pertinent to the point where they became outdated, and a lot of people only were joining them because they thought you had to, and you didn't even have to anymore. People were just misinformed.
In its death spiral, the dude bro startup culture hit its maximum. But even then, that was heightened by the pressure to sell the company and jump ship. This brought on its worst decisions and embarrassment by YouTube investing possibly millions into a company on borrowed time.
Yep.
Machinima's chaotic and incompetent nature did well to break FTC guidelines, take on various creator lawsuits, one of which was brought on by PewDiePie.
It took Felix hiring his own lawyer and then half a year of legal work to free himself from the network. Wow.
That Machinima likely didn't even know was part of their network.
But I hate Machinima.
Machinima even uploaded creator videos secretly to competing websites where they could pocket all the money to survive just long enough to be sold. They did anything to hit the bottom line before the flat line was hit. And in its wake, its massive library of videos and shared histories were wiped from the internet. But it wasn't...
Yep. That was so messed up, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure that when they went out of business, so many people's content who they had signed over the rights to Machinima and Machinima owned it was permanently deleted from the internet and lost to time. A lot of videos are gone forever and you cannot watch them anymore, which is really messed up.
Always this way. To understand its failure, first its success must be understood. But before we get into the video, I'd like to thank Semper for sponsoring.
Alright, and obviously we're going to skip the sponsor. But I would say, check out June the King's content. It's really good content. So far, we've reacted to many of his different documentary-style videos. Really enjoyed them. And he definitely deserves your look, your watch. If you like this kind of content, I'll give him a shout-out. He allows me to react to his content. It's very nice of him. So here we go.
So if you're interested in Semper, use my code JuneTheKing at semper.com for 50%.
And by the way, he's making a documentary on me.
Off. It's just a little over $7 for the first month, and it's available in the USA and Canada. Add over back to the video. That starts in 1999,
Here we go.
which is dated about 6 years before YouTube even launched. Machinima, as it was then, was a fledgling art form where creators puppeteered video game characters and typically applied voiceover in post to tell a story.
Right. I knew about what a Machinima was, and originally when I was contacted by Machinima, it was the year 2009. And they contacted me because they wanted my content for their YouTube channels. And I was like, aren't you just a channel that makes these edited videos of characters and stuff? Like, why do you want my content? And they were like, no, we're branching out. We want your content because we want a variety of content. I was like, oh, because I thought all you did was like these Halo videos and stuff.
Hello, and welcome to Grub the Box. Can I take your order?
Machinima the website was a newly established host to many fan-made Machinima videos, as per the screenshot of it in March of 2000. On the bottom right of the webpage, proudly displaying ownership was Strange Company, a company based in Edinburgh, Scotland, directed by none other than Hugh Hancock. In tandem with other like-minded websites, Machinima grew a creator and viewer base throughout the years. But as typical for websites in this time, advertising and any other revenue sources did not come as easy.
Right.
By the end of 2004, exhausted with the rising hosting and development fees upwards of $1,000 a month, they were approached by Philip and Alan Debevoise, who are brothers, and offered to purchase the website while maintaining Hugh as a minority shareholder, 5% to be exact, of this newly established, well at least newly incorporated as of October 2004, Machinima Inc. The most notable thing hinting at this change in ownership was again the copyright in the bottom right of the screen. It wasn't until the start of 2006 that Hancock posted about resigning as editor-in-chief to work on his own Machinima projects, and the changing of ownership was made widely public. This was accompanied by a Q&A a week later where questions were both directed at Hugh and Philip. Within there are two things of note.
I love this. It's such an archive. Look at this, Sims 2. See that? That's how old it is. The Sims 2 is the early 2000s.
Both answers from Philip that reveal the future of Machinima's success. Firstly, Philip accurately describes and sees Machinima.com as a hub for its own content form. It is an aggregator. This is to say, while many Machinima producers have their own websites where they promote their own videos, popular series like Red vs. Blue were also found on Machinima.com.
Right, I was going to say, Red vs. Blue is one of the biggest things that was synonymous with Machinima back in the day. I knew that for a fact. I knew that Red vs. Blue was Machinima. And that's when they contacted me in 2009. I'm like, I don't make that kind of content. I'm just a gamer. Like, why are you asking me to put my content on your site when I'm just doing playthroughs and stuff? And they were like, oh, because we want to branch out. As an aggregate site, we want a variety of content. So please put your content on our YouTube channel so we can make money off of you. I'm not kidding. That's basically what the pitch was. You'll see when I talk about that later in my own series. But anyway.
Something else found were more advertisements to help keep up with the hosting fees, which leads to the second bit of information in that Philip is looking to support and work with producers/creators who are looking to make a career in Machinima and are interested in developing original Machinima content.
So this is before they broke.
This is at the center
branched out to do variety content. They were all about just making Machinima style content. Okay.
Everything. Because very few Machinima animators or even content creators or making any money at all from their craft. Many were just creating videos as a hobby, but the idea of being paid for an online hobby was absurd to the general populace as it was for its unfeasibility. To make this work on a larger scale, there are two things still missing. Machinima.com lacks a large audience. One big enough to support an even larger roster of dedicated creators. The other that goes hand in hand with the first issue are the hosting fees. Machinima could theoretically take on more creators and have viewers decide on an even larger scale which creators are worth paying for their work. This is where the newly established and rising in popularity YouTube.com comes into play.
By the way, are we not impressed with the editing? The editing is really spiffy in this one, right? The editing, like all these effects and everything. And you know, he had to pay for all this, June. He had to pay for all those effects and things that are in here, all these, you know, things playing. I mean, it's basically considered stock footage. I think the editing is really good. I do. I think the editing is really well done. It's so far a very stylized, professional-looking video. I really like that.
Website without a theme. The only theme was post videos. Anyone was allowed to upload and have their videos hosted for free. And while it was hardly a unique model, as other websites existed with similar philosophies, YouTube actually had the funding to back it up. From one perspective, this was a threat to Machinima, as individual creators could now have their own videos on there, diverting attention from Machinima.com.
Right.
But it was also an opportunity. Machinima could still be an aggregator and have their videos hosted for free with access to an even larger audience, which is why in January 16, 2006, the Machinima YouTube channel was created.
Very early on in the life cycle of YouTube, right? Wow, 2006 is way back when. Even me, I think my original channel, Dark Side Phil, I think I made it in 2007. So they even predated me making any content for YouTube. By the way, Spike Vincent says the Bam Margera eyes in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen are freaking him out every time I pause. I apologize. Just pay no attention to Bam Margera. He's a very scary man.
It seems that videos were not uploaded on there until sometime around mid-2007. And when they were, Machinima had a head start. Not only because of their pre-existing content library, but also because of their status. A status that allowed a fast track to YouTube benefits like being a YouTube director, which allowed Machinima to upload videos longer than 10 minutes in length.
You're right.
But more
That was a
important
huge
what
thing
came
back
in
then.
December of 2007, when YouTube officially launched the YouTube Partner Program, an exclusive partnership where YouTube would cut you 55% of the advertising sales on your video if you were partnered. And because of Machinima's status, they were partnered immediately. So now on top of free hosting, they were now getting paid to have their own videos on there. It's hard to put into words how well this model worked for Machinima. Perhaps it's easier to show. Take for example this video titled Inside Halo Episode 3.
Okay.
The video itself details news about Halo 3 with the addition of community submitted clips. That part is unimportant. Within a 2-week time period, this video on Machinima.com got 14,000 views. That's quite decent considering the viewer base for such content at the time. It seemed that way until you look at how the same video performed on YouTube in the same time span.
Wow.
This same unaltered video got nearly 200,000 more views. At this point in time, it is important to note that this was a perfectly symbiotic relationship with Machinima. In addition to its role as an aggregator, it was taking risks YouTube wouldn't in scouting for and taking on smaller creators that they would both pay and promote on their channel, landing the responsibility for something like copyright on Machinima's lap as in 2007 and definitely now, companies like Nintendo had a threatening grip on their properties, striking down and removing even just gameplay footage posted online.
Right.
But conversely, companies like Microsoft promoted the use of their properties in art form like Machinima and also in gameplay, as it was becoming a greater marketing tool for them, where it was again symbiotic, and at the center was Machinima. A small sect of creators were taken on by Machinima, paid a guaranteed minimum CPM depending on their contract, games were being promoted, and the content was flourishing on none other than YouTube.com. No matter how much Machinima or any other channel, website, company, or entity made, the demand could not be met, and making game-related videos was a goldmine. On the business side, Machinima was tapping into a previously difficult-to-reach market of 13 to 34-year-olds that don't watch much television, listen to radio, or any other traditional media.
They're just sitting there on the internet playing games, and they wanted content for games, and there was nothing to provide that. I mean, what did you watch? G4 TV? There was nothing providing stuff for games, so gamers went to YouTube. And at this time period, it was 2009 when I was becoming prominent on YouTube, and they reached out to me, Machinima. And you'll see that I have my own event after this live react where we're going to go through, and they actually reached out to me to try to sign me to upload all of my content to their Machinima channels on YouTube. And at first I was interested. They said, oh, you could get paid for your gameplay. I was like, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. But then came all the surprises. And that I will say for my own private react, for my own experiences after this one. So go watch the Dark Side of Machinima series that I'm going to do after this, and you'll find out the whole story about that. All right? Okay, let's continue.
They mainly play video games where advertising was non-existent, which is why you'd find trailers or other promotional videos on Machinima. There were minor but existing issues present, because a game trailer wasn't Machinima in the traditional sense, but it was on the channel. Also on the channel was a Call of Duty sniper montage. Machinima was no longer Machinima, which irked the traditional Machinima animator group, and also, likely unaware of the change in programming, appealed to a wider range of viewers.
That's what's funny, because the name of it is Machinima. What is a Machinima? It's one of these edited videos with characters from like Halo or another game doing some kind of like a skit. But all of a sudden, Machinima had no Machinimas on it. But they were now becoming more prominent, being called Machinima, to having just variety game videos than actually the Machinima videos that their namesake is based off of. And it completely destroyed that whole type of content, honestly.
Machinima, though not accurate to the actual definition, was now anything game-related, and larger than the original concept could ever become. This was evident through the rapid growth of the channel. In just a year and a half, Machinima was already the 7th most subscribed channel on YouTube. Its model and the success of it was attributed to being a successful aggregator, its reputation, and its ability to pay creators for their work. There are other aspects that made Machinima the success it was, but these are arguably the largest, and slowly these are going to be stripped away. To that, we can focus on the first wave of YouTube-born creators or channels that gained larger success by the end of 2009. These channels range from gameplay-centered commentary videos and other content in the gaming sphere. Starting as a hobby, but developing it into a job for these creators was a dream. The dream was Machinima. It was still taking risks where YouTube wouldn't, as YouTube's partnership program was reserved for less risky types of content that could guarantee the copyright and ownership of their content. And so as
many times early on in my YouTube career, when I was doing gameplay on my Dark Side Phil channel, but I had my vlogging channel was partnered, okay? But every time I submitted my gameplay channel to try to get a partnership so I could monetize, YouTube denied it. They said, your content's too risky, it walks around the gray area of copyright, and we don't want to take that risk. Therefore, we will not monetize Dark Side Phil. We will monetize your vlogging channel because all you do is talk to a camera on that one. But we won't monetize your gameplay. So this was the only way to make money doing gameplay at the time.
Creators joined the network, Machinima expanded with channels like YouTube Respawn that centered more around impromptu gameplay videos. Machinima may or may not have been poaching employees from other game center networks, and not a multi-channel network like Machinima, but traditional networks like G4, as creators and some ex-G4 figures that helped launch the channel are Mr. Sark, Hutch, and CNNers, among many others. This channel, a complete success, solidified its inevitability for competition mid-2010, when the Game Station, a gaming-focused subsidiary network of the larger Maker Studios, did something that heavily threatened Machinima, or rather YouTube did, because it was now allowing multi-channel networks like the Game Station to partner channels directly. What this means is that instead of you sending your videos to Machinima and them giving a cut of what they say you've earned, you upload the videos to your own channel and the Game Station gets a cut but is also responsible for you.
This is the classic MCN or multi-channel network model. This is what all the networks were doing at the time. So, like he said, originally when Machinima contacted me in 2009, they wanted me to send them my videos, and they would exclusively upload them to their own channels, like Machinima or Machinima Respawn. And if it made any money on ads, they would send me the money. When I went to go partner with them in 2011, they were a multi-channel network. And I was one of the people who was a variety content creator who they signed, who I could put videos all on my own channel. And there was a way that you would do it. You would upload the video, and once it was live, there was something that said claim. It was a button. You would click it on each video, and when you hit claim, you would claim the video, but it would assign the rights of the video to Machinima, and Machinima would then put their own ads on it. They made all the ad revenue. Then they would pay you directly per your contract, and the contracts varied greatly. And again, I'll talk more about the specifics of my contract in my own Dark Side of Machinima event that I'm going to do after I finish this react, okay?
Machinima, having to compete with that, offered their own version where they can also partner you directly. YouTube could hardly keep up with the growth, as by the end of 2010, they had personally only partnered 15,000 of the hundreds of thousands of channels growing on YouTube.
I was in early 2011.
Lucky for Machinima at the time, and even with networks popping up left and right, they had something these other networks didn't, which was its reputation and exploitable ignorance of signees that go hand in hand. You, in 2011, as if you were a gaming YouTuber, would click on any which video and this intro would pop up.
I had to do that. That was straight off of my videos. I had to put that on all of my videos that were like edited style videos. They actually wanted me to put that on all of my gameplay, and I outright told them, you're out of your mind. I don't edit all my gameplay. It's raw footage. But if you want me to do my edited videos, so my vlogging, my reviews, my other style weekly shows, all had that on it. Only my gameplay videos didn't have that on it. They forced me to put it on there.
At the time, those ignorant of what really was going on, this was a status symbol. Virtually every channel you watch had that, and they were successful creators, so it was easy to associate Machinima with success.
Right.
The second wave of creators, now being contacted by networks left and right, sought out Machinima because it was the end-all be-all of success. And Machinima played into this well through exploitation and lies. Or, by a more generous description, taking on a salesman attitude with a heightened sense of urgency. Recruiters approach gaming channels en masse, sending copy and paste emails to channels in order to get them partnered before the competition. As told by many creators, these recruiters promise growth. Growth through posting your video on their channel and by a consultant that will work with you to better your content. They also offer to resolve any copyright issues on your behalf, at a set-in-stone CPM or cost per mile that was typically set at $2. So you could get a guaranteed $2 per monetized 1,000 views. But as soon as you signed Machinima's contract, your emails would go unanswered. Your content was drowned in a sea of other videos resembling a content farm, and most importantly, that minimum $2 you can make was also the maximum. As CPMs fluctuate depending on the advertisements and advertisers, if you made $1, you could double your earnings thanks to Machinima. But if you had a $5 CPM, Machinima would pocket that extra $3. Additionally, those CPM contracts were possibly one of the largest losses of income for Machinima, because creators that would get lower CPMs could effectively drain the company and have less of a reason to leave them. That is likely why Machinima shifted to revenue splits ranging typically from 60-40, 60 in favor of the creator, to 90-10 with 90 in favor of the creator. But that was all after YouTube took their cut of 45%, and this was all fair game. Looking at a leaked contract, the contract reveals no promise of an agent, growth, or even ability to get out of the contract. There were naturally contracts signed with a 1 to 3 years time span.
I can absolutely confirm this is what the contracts looked like, at least the initial contracts. Later on, they went fully online digital. In fact, this is an online digital contract. See how it says youtube.com/ and it's blank? What you would do is you would click on that and fill it in online in an online form. This was not a physical contract you ever filled out and did anything with. It was all online. Now, just to summarize what he said, because he moved very fast through that. So originally the way it would work is thus. Machinima would come to you with a contract to say, we want to offer you a $2 CPM on your videos. So what does that mean? Let's say you upload a video to your own channel. You're partnered with Machinima, okay? And you upload a video. So they get all the ad revenue off of your video no matter what. They make 100% of ad revenue, okay? So they will pay you $2 per 1,000 views on a video that is partnered with them, okay? Sounds good, right? And in reality, it was actually very good. If someone who went viral like me, some of my videos back in the day, just think of it this way, okay? So I have a video, part 1 of a playthrough. It gets 100,000 views. Well, divide by 1,000, that's 100. Multiply by 2. I just made hundreds to not thousands of dollars on one video. And back then, the videos were short. They were 10 minutes long. Now, imagine you're doing a playthrough. That's 50 parts, 100 parts. And you're making the first few parts 100,000, 50,000, 20,000 views. Even if they trail off in the later parts of the playthrough, right? On one game, you could potentially make thousands upon thousands of dollars just by... To give you an even better perspective on this, I used to do a series called Release Day Unboxing, okay? I would go to the store, I would buy the game, come home, turn on my camera, and actually just unbox the game, okay? And I would read the box, I would go through the actual instruction booklets, all the contents of the box, and I would talk about my anticipation of what I felt was going to come out of that game if I had any history with that franchise. So it would be its own separate upload, all right? Then I would actually play the game. Just the unboxing sometimes, all right, would get 50,000 views. Now do the math. $2 per 1,000 views. So that means before I've even played the game, I made $100. Just unboxing the game, okay? That's how crazy it was back then. It was insane. So that was wild times for money. But what ended up happening, and he just really blew through it fast. I'll go more into detail about it a little bit in my own private react coming up. After about a year to 2 years of having these kind of contracts, what ended up happening was the ad revenue started plummeting on YouTube for various reasons. There were still certain seasons where the ad revenue was very high, and so Machinima was actually making like $5 per 1,000 views on a video, so they were making tons of profit. But what about the off seasons? What about the summertime when there's no games coming out? Gameplay videos were making almost no money at all. So they were taking a big dip and a big hit during the slow times while making profits, and it was basically evening out for a while. But after a while, they were actually paying more than they were making. So what ended up happening was they had to renegotiate everyone's contracts, and they blindsided everyone because people were thinking, oh, our videos are doing great, Machinima is doing great. So we all base our financial decisions based off of what we're making. Come to find out, that was just a limited time thing, and it all went away. We all started making way less because Machinima started actually doing revenue cut contracts. Now, in order to retain the top talent, Machinima actually took on bad contracts that hurt them. And that is also something I will talk about in my private react. For a while, they had me under a contract that they lost money on just to retain me because I was a big YouTuber and they wanted to keep me. They were losing a lot of big YouTubers at the time. When they did the renegotiations, they wanted to keep me, so they paid me more than everyone else. Everyone else had these contracts that were revenue share contracts. I still had a flat CPM contract. That wasn't very fair, but that's what they offered me. So I actually was making way more money, all right, than most people under Machinima's contracts. But most people had these revenue shares where you already were making way less, and now you're making a percent off of what's actually being made on your video for ad revenue, and you're talking like, oh, I made $2 CPM. Sometimes it will go down to like 50-cent CPM. And you're like, oh my God, I'm making 1/4 of what I did one day, you know? But anyway, yeah, it was a big mess because they had all these contracts that originally were so lucrative, and then all of a sudden they realized they effed everything up, and they had to change it all on the fly, and a lot of people ended up leaving in droves because they didn't want to be roped into that. So now let's continue, because there was a big debacle with that, and let's get into it.
Though the time also varies. And then there were the infamous perpetuity contracts, which means you were with Machinima forever. They even closed potential loopholes by also claiming the license of any channels you made within the time you were with them, and only they could terminate the contract with or without reason.
And that, by the way, that is not legally enforceable whatsoever. Those contracts, the perpetuity, the fact that they think that they own the rights forever, and the fact that there's no way to really sever the contract, complete bullshit. You can't enforce that contract at all. It's not legally enforceable because they're actually in the state of California, and in the state of California, there's laws against contracts like this. So because their company is incorporated in California, they have to abide by the rules of California, and these contracts don't. So everyone's signing away, not realizing everyone's signing fluff contracts that aren't really legal. They're all illegal contracts. It's pretty stupid.
I believe this was better than the alternative, which was earning nothing from YouTube. That's why there wasn't much of an issue with remaining with Machinima.
Right.
As articles such as this one, written by creator Adam Chandler, helps provide insight as to why these contracts and this attitude in the business world was not an irregularity.
And one thing I think a lot of viewers might want to understand a bit more about is the fact that this is not unique to Machinima, like I call it bro culture, but that's not really a fair assessment of a lot of different startups. But a lot of startups, and Justin TV was turned to Twitch was the same way. So I was involved with Justin TV as a creator and kind of a partner very early on. So 2007, 2008.
Wow, it's
as
way
a
early.
blogger / livecaster. It was bros. Kyle, who's now a billionaire, Mike, who is now a billionaire, Justin, who's now a billionaire. They were just bros. They were college dropouts that were just trying to put things together on a shoestring budget. And they made mistakes, and they're not lawyers. They might have represented themselves as having kind of a legal precedent on saying things. But honestly, with, you know, when you have $500K or $1 million in seeding and you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and you're just all college buddies just trying to do something you are passionate about, it's kind of in your best interest to kind of play dumb and just say, you know, bro, we're going to sue you if you get out, if you breach this contract. But in actuality, you know, as soon as the creator lawyers up, you're like, okay, I guess it's serious, I'll stop now. But I don't, you know, I wouldn't say that's correct behavior. Coming from the startup world, it's pretty common behavior.
As Machinima,
The problem was with Machinima, and by the way, a tip came in. Thank you, whoever this is. I'll shout it out in a second. The problem with Machinima was they had control of your channel. So it's not like, oh, I just want to stop broadcasting on Twitch or Justin TV and I'll go somewhere else. Sue me if you don't like that. They had control of your channel. Like literally any video you uploaded to your channel, they had the ad rights. So you couldn't stop them from making money on your content once you were partnered with them. And you had to have them unlink your channel. You had no power to cut the cord with them and stop them from being partnered. And by the way, that's not just Machinima. That was everyone. Every partnership channel back in the day had a complete control of your channel. You couldn't actually sever the contract at all. There was no way to do it. So that's really what I think we're going to get into next, is how that's really messed up. Because if you want to leave, you should have the ability to leave. And I think a lot of people couldn't do it. Shout out to Bridges Renatus, who just did a super chat and says, damn, Machinima are trash, eh? Well, as you're going to see, there's definitely a lot of negativity, but there's also a lot of positivity. Back in the day, the only reason I ever made money on YouTube and the reason that I became big was because of them. You know what I mean? Like, I never would have made any money doing it if it wasn't for them. I owe them a lot. But then again, the company did run themselves into the ground and fall apart over time. So, yeah, there's some negatives and positives to be said. So I received a $13 tip. It says, I hope everyone is having a great day. It's Gunner Glasses time, but I can't find the join membership button. It should be on the main page, correct, everybody? I'm trying to remember where is the join button to become a member of the channel. Does anyone know exactly where it shows up? I'm not sure where it shows up. Oh, Alex for Phoenix, that was you? Okay. It's not showing up? Well, I don't know why it wouldn't be showing up. Let me look. Hold on. They removed it. It's not visible on mobile anymore. Wow. Why is it gone on mobile? Well, the good news is there's a way to do it without the button. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the link in the chat right now. This should work. Let's see if it pops up. There it is. And if you click on that link I just put into the chat, that should bring you directly to the page where you can join and become a member. Okay? In fact, it just popped up for me. So it does work. That's why I made that link, because YouTube fucks up from time to time, which is really stupid. I know. But if you type in that membership link, you click on that link, it'll actually bring you to where you can become a member directly. Okay? So there you go. So thank you, Alex from Phoenix. A $13 tip. That's very generous of you. Let's get a nice animation for you. Here we go. And let's add that to our leaderboard. That means we did qualify for Gunner Glasses. I put on a pair of Gunner Glasses whenever we hit a $50 tips goal. Thanks for that. And then, of course, if we hit $100 today, you guys can vote for a hat for me to wear for today, which would be very nice. But I'll toss on my Gunners for now. Very good. Cool. So there you go. If you want to become a member, you should be able to do it from that link. And anyone who wants to do that, just type !membership and the link should pop up on the chat. It's definitely there on the desktop. I don't know why it wouldn't be on mobile. It's pretty stupid. You probably got to go like the main channel page on mobile or something, right? Okay. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Alex from Phoenix. We've gone about 34 minutes. We're going to keep going for a bit before we come. I want to do this in 2 parts, so it's 2 digestible videos. But let's keep going for a little bit further. We're not even halfway through yet. I was figuring when we get around the halfway point is when we'll split the video. All right? All right. So let's keep going. Let's see what's next. I guarantee you he's going to get around to talking about how people wanted to get out of their contracts and they couldn't. So let's see here. Here we go.
contracts could be perceived as uninformed, as much as they could be seen as created to directly take advantage of a creator's carelessness. Creators sometimes falsifying leaked contracts to ruin Machinima's reputation can only be seen as malicious.
It transpires. I did a lot of digging. I had various copies of different people and ended up getting 2 ex-Machinima folks via LinkedIn to like confirm to me, oh yeah, that's totally the standard. Like I sent the first paragraph. This is totally the first paragraph, and this is the right one. And just sort of through deduction, I just realized that these must have been fakes. And I guess I was trying to figure out like what the motivation for the creators was to do that. Basically, kind of an onslaught of creators that all got together and said, let's make these guys look as bad as possible and kind of turn public opinion against them so that we can all just be, renew our contracts or be let out of it. That's what I deduced from that.
As it stood in its peak in around 2011, Machinima externally was holding well with their promise of money from videos, reputation, and aggregation of higher quality content that YouTube's algorithm or recommendations failed to reproduce, considering just their main Machinima channel was the 3rd most subscribed YouTube channel and number 1 in total views. Internally, the larger channels that were propping up Machinima were privy to the lack of order, as some recorded in the actual Machinima offices.
But yeah, they were just very restrictive about it. A lot of weird things. It's almost like they were figuring it out as they went, but no one really quite knew, it seemed, what they were doing. And it became very apparent over time. It was just like
1,000,000% correct. Completely agree with him that in the time that I worked with Machinima, that is exactly correct how it felt. They had no idea what the hell they were doing. They were flying by the seat of their pants. They barely knew how to even keep the lights on. They didn't know how to run anything professionally. Like, they were just, it was a joke. Because this is supposed to be the company that I'm partnered with that, I'm relying on for income. But then they would do ridiculous, ludicrous things, disorganization. Wait till I tell you the story about E3, which I'm going to tell you again in my private react when they sent me to E3 in 2012. The most disorganized thing. It was a complete shit show. So I completely agree with C-Nanners here that they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
yeah, so are there rules, or should we even be here, or what's happening? I just don't understand.
And with the YouTube Partner Program expanding and taking note of gaming channels, many were trying to get out as they could partner with YouTube directly and not have to split any of the revenue with Machinima. 2012 is when all the problems came to a head, and it really started to hit the fan all at once. While there were always complaints with things like Machinima having channels in their network mass favorite a video to promote it, videos getting overshadowed by others due to the mass uploads on every network, and the lack of reliability of contacting anyone at Machinima for getting out of contracts, its model was holding with its 3 key aspects, but that wouldn't be for long. First under attack was the image. One of the more popular videos at the time was Oni NG's video reply to Machinima's repetitive attempts to get him on the network, while demonstrating the lack of Machinima's value and the contracts that bind the creators. As he'd later find out, Machinima contemplated a lawsuit as it had the internal team allegedly furious.
Chris, you made that video, and
that
then
video was fucking hilarious. And actually, I remember that we might have talked about this, but they were like flipping fucking chairs over when they heard about that. That ruined them.
They were about to sue me and shit.
Yeah, they tried to, but
wow.
I remember Lyle's like,
they were like, should we? And
no,
then someone
Lyle's
was like,
you
no.
can't.
This is an attack on its reputation, but this was just the first in a series of problems. Next came a restructuring in how Machinima's YouTube videos were prioritized. Instead of focusing on viral content, YouTube's recommendations prioritized watch time to have viewers engage longer in a series and more towards individual channels where these series could be easier to access rather than fishing through Machinima's rapidly growing and unfocused catalog that was previously promoted more because of the viral videos it held.
This change in 2012 absolutely gutted and destroyed YouTube channels and businesses. Mine was one of them, all right? Because previous to that, all videos were only 10 minutes long. There was no way to have a video longer than 10 minutes, okay? All of a sudden, YouTube changed the site. Now, videos can be longer, right? Upwards, I think if I remember correctly, it was 30 plus minutes was like you could go now. And the site favored watch time. So if people watched a video longer simply because the video was longer, that video got favored on YouTube. Now think of it this way. My business model is based on 10-minute long videos of gameplay. A lot of people don't watch the whole 10 minutes. They skim through to find an interesting part. A lot of gameplay is boring and repetitive. So my videos aren't getting a high percentage watch time, and my videos are shorter to begin with, right? So this change made it so that my videos were virally going crazy, getting hundreds of thousands of views, getting prominently featured on YouTube's pages and everything. Flick of a switch. All of YouTube changes. And by the way, what you're reading here, okay, after investing $100 million to create content channels, YouTube's focus has shifted from directing viewers to videos of skateboarding dogs to enticing them into longer, more engaging videos, the kind that are, not incidentally, more appealing to advertisers. Guess how YouTube told everyone about this? You ready? They didn't. They did the change internally. They told no one. And all of a sudden, everyone started freaking out. Why is my channel getting less views, less engagement? Why aren't people finding my content on YouTube anymore? And actually, in the emails that I went through, I went back and forth with Machinima, I talked with them about this, like, why is my channel declining in popularity? By the way, this is before This Is How You Don't Play problems. This is when my channel was still very popular. All of a sudden, my views are tanking. What happened? I didn't change my content. People love the content. They say they can't find it or it's not related anymore. So what? And this hurt Machinima a ton, actually. This hurt Machinima a ridiculous amount. Because like they said, their content was based on viral popularity and getting these views based on like, oh, everyone send us your videos and we put them up. But those videos weren't getting big engagement because it was like 1,000 videos a day on one page. No one was watching those videos for too long. You see, a lot of people will go to machinima.com or the Machinima page on YouTube and just click through videos quick to see what was good. And that's not adding to the algorithm. So those videos weren't getting favored anymore and no one was finding them. So yeah, YouTube, this is just a case of YouTube's internal changes that were completely changing the site and the business model, and no one knew because YouTube didn't tell anyone. Just one of many times this happened.
This is an attack on the aggregation model of Machinima. And finally, the most serious blow. What really brought on the collapse of Machinima was what came in April, and what caused increasing chaos in the company. On April 12, 2012, YouTube opened the floodgates to the partner program. So long as you claim to have a single video that could be monetized, which you had all the copyright to, you could now become a YouTube partner. Reputation and its aggregate model aside, this moment spelled out the death of Machinima. But there was still time.
Yeah, there was still time, because you want to know why? Because there was a mass misinformation campaign. What happened was, people started talking about it, and we were told from places like Machinima, oh, you can go ahead and you can be an individual partner if you want, but just so you know, us partner networks are getting the better ads. We're getting the ads that pay more. So if you want to make more money, you got to stay with us, you know? The other thing is, keep in mind, when you were partnered with YouTube, no matter what, you had that revenue share contract, okay? So you were dependent on what was the ads making that month. If it's the summertime, you're making almost nothing no matter what you put out. If it's like the fall when it's Christmas ads, now you're making tons of money. If you were with Machinima, you had those flat rate contracts. You were guaranteed to make money no matter what, as long as you had views. So people saw staying with Machinima, even though you could have been individually a partner with YouTube directly, people saw being with an MCN like Machinima as more stability. If I stay with Machinima, I still have the same pay every month as long as I'm pumping out the same amount of videos to get the same amount of views. If I go and be an individual partner with YouTube, there's fluctuation. There's a chance that sadly I could have a very slow month. And how do I pay my bills? Just because ad revenue was down in the summertime, you see? So a lot of people wanted to stay with the partner networks despite the fact they had the ability to move out and do their own thing because they saw the stability in it. There you go.
I had to find a new model while it still had those two legs to stand on. It had to do something before the creators and YouTube found out they were obsolete. But in May of 2012, things started to go really bad. The catalyst was likely contracted creators wanting to partner with YouTube directly and leave Machinima to get the maximum out of their money. But Machinima to some creators said, no, you signed a contract. And while some creators give a point of release, others, like in the case of Brain Deadly, a World of Warcraft content creator, had a contract in perpetuity, and can only be released by Machinima. Displeased at the prospect of an eternity working under Machinima, Brain Deadly decided the best option altogether was to leave YouTube. And this video reached more than just a few of his fans, as it reached Athene, who was another large content creator at the time, and in solidarity decided he wanted to leave his contract as well. This got the attention of Total Biscuit, who wasn't even contracted with Machinima. And so this spread far and wide simply because Machinima did not want to let go of a creator. Soon other creators were poring over the contracts, regretting only reading "sign here." And unknown to many creators at the time, contracts in perpetuity or holding someone forever are not held up in court.
That's right. There's no such thing as a perpetuity contract like this that will ever hold up legally. You have to have actual guidelines and things. You know, again, they're incorporated in, I think it's the state of California, and each state has their own laws. Wherever you incorporate, you have to abide by the laws there. And there's no law in California that says you could sign your entire existence away forever. That's illegal. So their contracts were never legal. Literally, any contract you ever signed with Machinima was never legal until they got rid of that perpetuity clause, which I don't know if they ever did. So everything was always bullshit. By the way, thank you to K-Styles1998, who just re-upped their membership for 5 months. I appreciate that, K-Styles. Thank you for the support. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this, if you could possibly like this video, leave comments on it, let me know what you think. That's key. Were you ever involved with Machinima? Did you ever have a contract with them? Did you have workings with them? What did you think of them? What did you hear about them? Did you know about any of this stuff that was going on back in the day with Machinima? I'm curious, okay? Let me know, what do you think about what I'm added to this? Do you think this is neat stuff that I'm adding, my takes and stuff? Let me know. If you're here live on the stream, are you having a good time? If you are, please like the stream. All right, perhaps consider supporting the stream with a super chat or a membership or a tip. Thank you. Let's continue.
And will often be construed as either party can leave at will, not just Machinima whenever they feel like it. For those that did know about this would still have to sue Machinima to get out of their contract,
right,
and made for a rather unpleasant game of chicken, as creators initially began to sue Machinima, no doubt adding compounding legal fees.
I signed a contract with Machinima in perpetuity. They never treated me poorly. I had to sue them to get out of that contract because it was not only unfair but illegal. These were my friends that worked at the company, and this situation is the spitting image of mine.
This is something PewDiePie had to do as well.
Wow.
In 2012, he was quickly rising to the top of the YouTube ranks, but Machinima likely didn't know he was part of the network because he had an associate get him into the MCN, and when he tried to leave, he was in one of those perpetuity contracts, to where he had to hire a lawyer to get out. So a new Machinima strategy seemed to be implemented, and that was just ignore creators' emails, which was something they were already decently good at. Until creators threatened legal actions for contracts and perpetuity and where they would be let go.
Here's the thing. Machinima was so into just swiping up everyone. Like they said, 15,000 YouTube channels within the first year, and each year probably growing. Once they have 100,000, 200,000 YouTube channels under their wing, how on earth do they ever think they're going to actually answer their requests? Okay? And the answer is they're not going to. All right? I personally, because I was one of their bigger creators at the time, had personal contacts that I would talk to, 2 or 3 different people who I knew I could talk to at any time via email, or I even had their, like, I could text them, and that's how I would contact them about important issues. But most people who were with the company who weren't bigwigs, big content creators, had no one. They were told, just shoot an email. You would shoot an email, and no one would literally ever respond, okay? Eventually what ended up happening, which I don't know if June will get into this, they created a system that everyone uses now. It's that stupid Zendesk log system, where whenever you have a concern, you have to put your concern into Zendesk, and what it does, it goes to some off-site where people who are paid just to take in customer support logs, take them in, sort them, and then filter them off to the appropriate parties. But they didn't do that until many years later. I'm talking like 2013, 14, 15. Then they started the Zendesk system. So up until then, you were basically working by yourself. And for certain people like me, I didn't care. Like, I didn't really need that much help. You know, I didn't have issues too much with certain kinds of copyright or anything. It wasn't a big deal to me. And if I needed help, usually they would give me the actual help that I needed directly via email. So I really didn't have that much issue with them. And that's why all the years I was with them, I never had a problem until the very end. But everyone else was like, oh my God, if ever I need help, they don't help me. And I was like, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I get help probably because I'm bigger and I'm making them more money, you know? And that's bullshit. Everyone should have gotten, you know, fair treatment, and a lot of people did not.
It wasn't the case for everyone, but it was known as the worst case scenario held by the unique position of YouTubers, that whether it be a minor or major issue, could build or destroy a reputation at will. Those less sympathetic to the outcries called out these creators for not reading the contract before signing, but that was still the minority opinion amongst forums discussing Machinima. This was still only the start, and while displeasure of Machinima was spreading, the whole was still looked upon positively, especially by YouTube that in some areas were as directionless as Machinima. In fact, the same month of this outrage, it was being reported that Machinima received $35 million in a funding round led by none other than Google. And almost immediately, Machinima focused on trying to appeal to traditional media investors more and more.
These are numbers that any broadcast network would absolutely drool to be able to boast about, certainly with their online presence.
It was a decision that, to ensure its survival, had to be made after YouTube's large-scale expansion of its partnership program. But how do you sell to investors? How do you make YouTube, a website that was looked down upon by traditional media like cable television, look like a promising investment and change their perspectives on creators who to them look like a ragtag group of disheveled second-rate producers? To do that, you don't actually mention what your business model was or how it worked, which was a middleman to get monetized on YouTube. They did try, as these large creators were leaving, more creators were somehow joining, which will be explained in a moment. So the brothers do a round of conferences and attend events promoting Machinima, but not as we've seen it. They promote the numbers it gets worldwide, but hardly attribute it to the creators. Instead,
I'm not kidding you. What I'm seeing right now answers all of my questions about Machinima 1,000,000%, and explains everything about what was wrong with this company. They needed money, so they went to investors and advertised themselves as a broadcast network. They claimed they were a TV show. Get it? So what happened was people invested to make television shows, which is why they started pumping out shit like the Mortal Kombat show, the Halo show, or the Halo movie. This is why. They lied. They actually falsely represented themselves at trade shows and said that they were going to be a network that could broadcast this content to the world, when in reality, all they were was a multi-channel network that was making money off of people's gameplay videos. 1,000,000%, this answers all my questions right here. Because I always wondered, why was it that if they're supposed to be an MCN, why are they making a Halo show? Why are they doing a Mortal Kombat series? Why are they asking me as their partner to advertise their shows and like their shows? It didn't make sense. Why not promote the gameplay? Because they couldn't get investor money for that. They wanted to grow, and wow, they lied. They outright misrepresented themselves and lied. Look, monthly likes, comments, social shares, average. But this is on gameplay videos. It doesn't matter what. All that means nothing if you don't explain the context. They don't explain any context. They just say, oh, please give us money so we'll make a TV show for you. Wow.
They focus on both planning to host TV quality content and their own in-house made productions. Something they've been doing for quite some time.
Okay. So I think this is a good opportunity to split the part, because I wanted this to be 2 parts for Streamline. So the whole first part here was the history of the startup of Machinima and who they were as the MCN, right? Now, I feel like the second half of this documentary is going to be covering how they basically changed to be some kind of a production company for TV and movies, and that's where they went awry. So, perfect time to split the part. If you've been watching so far, thank you. Please remember, if you're enjoying this content, engagement is key. If you could like the video, if you could leave some comments, let me know what you think up to this point of what we learned, or about my takes on it. And thanks. I'm actually very excited now to see part 2, to see how they fell apart. Because for me, this company started falling apart around 2016, 2017. That's when I had my falling out with them. And at that point, I think they were already almost defunct. So we're going to find out. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in part 2. My batteries are low. It's a good time to split the part. Very nice.